Good morning, everyone. I'm gonna jump right in before it's time for me to get started in my day. Hope you all can see me. Okay, I think. Nevertheless, let's go ahead and get started with dealing with depression, day 3. Oftentimes, when dealing with depression, we often think that when people tell us that we should get over things, that it should be an instantaneous transition. However, that's not necessarily the case. For the simple fact that if you've been, good morning, Mama Joyce. For the simple fact that if you've been dealing with depression for years, like I had been, it was years it took you to get so low. So it's going to be not necessarily years for you to get over, because anybody can change. Anybody can be delivered from something instantaneously, and then sometimes it takes people long term to actually get over it. So some progress is better than none. I remember when I started to seek like real help, being admitted to the hospital was a major step. But again, it did not help me to totally get over depression until I was ready to get over depression, until I was ready to actually do a self-evaluation that says, hey, I need more help outside of just being admitted to the hospital. Not only that, but it was anxiety. At first, I would take all my pills, but I was on Ambien. I can never, most of my friends can remember, I would go to sleep, and the Ambien was so strong for me. I would have real life conversations with my friends, and they'd be like, Victoria, are you sleeping? And I would say no. They would say that I would have these whole conversations, and I would go through my phone, and I would have text messages, and I told my doctor, like, people are saying that I'm calling them in the middle of the night and that I'm doing all this. And I was fearful that it was going to matriculate to me, like maybe getting into my car, because I would read people getting into their car and driving. And at the time, like I said, lady was 3 years old. And I was afraid that if I did that, then I would put her in harm's way. So they changed my medication. So, of course, it made me feel better. But at times, I remember one day I went to church and I was on my Celexa for depression, and I was on, not Depakote, I was on something else for my mood swings. I was on something else to keep my mood stabilized. I mean, I was on 6 different pills from sun up to sundown. And I remember going to church, and the security guard, this officer at the time, he was like, Vic, are you okay? And I was a zombie. Like I was just existing. Even though I had sought help, even though I had been admitted to the hospital, even though, I was on my medication, even though I was all these things, it wasn't until I finally realized that I had an actual problem. Because being in depression, you can be in denial as well. Like, I don't have, because you've lived this facade for so long, so you don't think that you have an issue. But in reality, you really do. So I came this morning to tell you all that some progress is better than no progress at all. Because maybe you're not crying all the time like I was. Like, you could say boo to me or hi to me. And if I was depressed, I would just cry. So maybe once you get on your medication and actually find something that doesn't make you feel, suicidal, or maybe sometimes it'll make you feel like you have to sleep all day. Because that was another issue. I was sleeping all day long. And I'm so thankful for my real friends that I have that would come and get Lady while I would sleep. And I'm so glad that Lady herself, I don't know where she was sent from. She has to be sent from heaven, because she would not bother me whenever it's like she fed off my energy. So she would actually keep herself, and feed herself snacks. And, when I would go to sleep, she would make sure she was next to me. And I never had to worry about her. But in depression, some progress is better than none. Don't let people make you feel like you should get over your issues. Because, one, until you realize what your deep-rooted issues you're never going to get over it. You're going to continue to cope with it, and you're going to continue to convince yourself that you're over it. But you, one, have to establish that you have an underlying issue. You, two, have to want to seek help, whether that's with the therapist, whether that's with prayer, with whatever your religion may be. I'm not going to press what I believe off on anybody. And if you are to take your medication, take your medication. I know I see a lot of people when I post about me not being on mine. It's not to say that I don't have those moments where I feel depressed, or I feel like I can't go on, like I can't do anything, because I do. But then I also realize I'm not going back to the hospital. I have a fear of being in confined spaces. So going to a hospital and being stuck behind a door that I cannot get out of is not a very fun place for me. Not to mention, I think I mentioned to you all on another video, I have worked in a mental institution from like college through working at another place here in Birmingham, to working with a therapeutic foster care agency, to doing all these things, and to have to be admitted to a hospital, and my intake person was a prior employee, prior co-worker, and then my nighttime person was someone I had previously worked with. So going back into those places, and after being in the industry for 10 plus years, is not something that I want to do. So things that I do to help me cope with it is I write. I talk to friends who I can trust. I have a lot of friends who are therapists, so I talk to my therapist friends, and I'm transparent. Like one of my favorite pastors always said, maybe if I get naked, maybe you'll get naked too. At first I was like, he is so crazy, but then I realized it's basically saying, if I'm transparent, maybe you'll be transparent. So we won't live in this world like we're all perfect, because we're not. We'll never be perfect. We were born into sin, so therefore we can never be perfect. We were never meant to be that way. So therefore, I would love for people to stop walking around here thinking that they are, because they're not. We indirectly put people on these pedestals that we can never live up to, because we're nothing but human. We are human. We will make mistakes. You'll make mistakes. When I get throughout this video, I will make another mistake. My staff may think that I'm crazy sometimes, but I'm okay with that. You have to get to a place that you're making progress, that maybe you're not having suicidal thoughts anymore. Maybe you're not popping them pills like I used to, me personally, that I used to do. Maybe you're not drinking 5 shots a day, or maybe you're not being very promiscuous and having sex with a ton of people, and maybe you gone from sleeping with 10 guys to sleeping with 9 guys, or sleeping without a condom with a condom. Because when you're depressed, you do anything to find love for yourself. You'll do anything to make yourself feel better in that moment. But when you do that, when you get up, you're going to have more issues, because you're doing a transfer. But we won't go there today. You'll get up. You just know that you will get up with more issues than you lay down with. When you drink, yes, in that moment, that drink tastes good. That vodka with no chaser, my favorite drink, my amaretto sour. You will feel in that moment better, but it's more to come with that, because now you can't go to sleep, or now you're always anxious, or you're always doing something to try to cope, or you're out here spending, trying to live a lavish lifestyle because social media told you that your other friends that you never even see are doing it too. But some progress is better than no progress. It's all I want to let you all know today. I hope that this video today helps you all with dealing with it. Talk to somebody. If you don't believe in medication, if you don't believe in a therapist, talk to somebody. Write. Do a journal. Sing a song. For me, it's now doing these videos because I feel that they're necessary, because I feel like people put me somewhere that I'll never be able to listen up to, that I'll never be able to live up to. But I do it, and I confess with my organization that we have to be better stewards over each other. We have to realize that what we're going through is not for ourselves. I would have never thought in a million years that I would be able to tell somebody and be so transparent and not really give a flying flip what people think about me. Because if I can help somebody else, because someone thought just enough of me, my friends thought just enough of me to come and get me and admit me to a hospital so that I can get help. And I'm not saying since 2013 to 2017 that I never had a suicidal thought. Let me let that be very clear. But I know that that's not my ending point. I know that that's just the coward ways out. I have fallen since then. I have been depressed since then. I have felt like I was not a great mother since then. Everything that caused me to fall so deep, I still deal with from time to time. But I realize that I have greater purpose. I realize that I'm left here. I was left here to do greater. I'll tell you about another instance. I told you all about me being admitted to the hospital after my 5th suicide attempt. But my 4th suicide attempt was in 2012. It was actually on my mother's birthday. I had gone and saw someone, and the things that they said to me took me back to a place that I didn't think I was over. So yeah, flying flip, I don't care. And I ended up doing some things that night that I knew I shouldn't have been doing. I had a truck at the time, and I remember popping some pills. I remember getting on the interstate that morning, coming from Roebuck Parkway, 2059, and I remember getting on the parkway, still high from the night before, still filled with all the other stuff that I had done that night. And I remember something saying, "Go and put gas in your tire." She didn't. She got on that interstate, and if anybody knows about rush hour traffic, coming from 2059 going towards downtown, it's like bumper to bumper to bumper. However, it wasn't that much traffic, and it's like 7:30 in the morning. And I remember getting on the interstate, and I remember my car swerving, but my first thought was, don't put your foot on the brake, because you'll spin out. But I remember swerving to the right, swerving to the left. I remember toggling, because y'all know, if y'all from Birmingham, right there's no rail. And I remember calling on like Jesus, and my car flipped not once, not twice, but 3 times. And I could have literally stuck my hand on to the other side of 2059, and because I didn't care. Like, I just didn't care. And I remember jumping out the car, and luckily no one hit me. I didn't hit anybody else. And on the other side, there was a nurse and another guy who got out the car and examined me. And because there was a car seat in my back seat, they thought that my daughter or a baby was in the car with me. Luckily, it wasn't. They took me to UAB. They did a psych eval on me, told me that I was depressed. I had every test known to man done on me that day, and yet I still left. I remember being in the waiting room. Well, because I wasn't like bleeding or anything, they put me on a gurney, and I was in the hallway. And I remember I had these pills on me, and because I know that I looked like I'm high, I was afraid that they were going to check my purse. And so I remember the officer having his back to me, and I remember reaching in my purse and trying to get the pills out. And he looked at me, and I looked at him, and I began to cry, and he turned his head, and in that moment I was able to take the pills out and kind of drop them so that nobody could see them. And I know that that officer saw me, but because